Unpopular opinion, don't buy drum kits, they're all recycled. This is an issue that's not even addressed in our industry. What's going down? Hope you're doing well. Today's video is brought to you by the comment section. I saw this interesting post on Instagram. It was a tweet that was shared by the Producer Culture Instagram page. Unpopular opinion, don't buy drum kits, they're all recycled. This is an issue that's not even addressed in our industry. Producer culture, maybe you can touch on the issue. They don't seem to have really touched on the issue at all, though I wish they had. It's been oversaturating markets and causing younger producers to purchase an endless loop of the same sounds. So yeah, are there a lot of drum kits that sound the same and contain the same sounds? I spoke on this a while ago. I actually spoke to a couple sound designers. I completely understand why producers have trust issues and why reasonable producers who would otherwise love to support sound designers and their peers by purchasing drum kits are reluctant to do so. But let me put it this way. There's a lot of unhealthy food being sold on the market, a lot of genetically modified food full of artificial ingredients. Those of us who know this and who want to be healthy, what do? Do we just stop eating entirely because it's too confusing? What do? We find food that's actually healthy, and then we support the local growers and the companies that produce food that, based on our standards, is healthy and natural. Producers, why would we just stop supporting sound designers altogether? I feel like we already know who has original kits. For example, we have people like Decap and Simon Servita. And Decap's kits, I don't know if they're #1 in the world. I know that they're damn near #1 on Splice all the time. Just these two guys, for example, and I'm throwing my hat in the ring, but I don't want to promote myself in this video. I'll throw anyone who creates content for the Sample Lab also in that list of names of producers who have original loop and sample kits and drum kits as well. But those two, just Decap and Simon, right? I've seen their videos where they're either doing field recording or synthesis. I mean, they're not hiding their process. They are making their drums from scratch. And I've also seen a ton of drummers who are miking their drum kits and showing you that whole process of recording, even setting up the mics, processing breaks or one shots, and then dropping those as packs. Find those people and support them. If those people don't get support, the only thing left is stolen drum kits, and then that just makes the original problem worse. Because let's break this down. It doesn't make any sense. I think people are just being lazy and trying to justify their own desire to not pay for anything and just steal drum kits all the time. Because what are they saying? They're just saying stop buying drum kits. They're looking for a way to justify stealing kits. Because if you just start stealing kits and all kits are full of recycled drums, then you're just going to be stealing the same kits. That doesn't make sense. Here's another scenario. You just steal kits until you find one that has original sounding drums in it, but you still stole it from a fellow producer in the space. So that goes against your original reason for claiming you're not paying for drum kits to begin with, which is that they're all unoriginal. So you find one that's original, and what do? You steal it anyway because you feel like you earned it. And I brought that up. I commented and said, why not just support the ones who aren't using recycled sounds to encourage more originality and authenticity in the producer community? Sicky Beats responded, it's difficult to support originality when the creators aren't upfront about their process or give previews. Calling out the select few with bad business practices by our community is seen as hate. It's a no-win scenario. Plugins are the same. I completely disagree with this. As a matter of fact, calling people out is incredibly popular in the producer community, for better or worse. There are certain channels and personalities who do nothing but call people out, not just in the producer community. I'm just talking about at large. I don't think it's difficult at all to support originality. I think if you follow producers, I mean, they're posting a ton of content. I named Decap and Simon. They post content all the time, but there are way more. There are probably 100 other producers making content on that level. Some of them sell drum kits, some of them sell sample packs. If it means anything to you, I would encourage you to do this. Say you buy a drum kit, right? And you open it up and there's the 808 clap and the 808 cowbell and the 808 rim, what we call the young chop snare. That's just an FL Studio stock sound. Speak on it. Demand your money back. If you purchase it from PayPal, request a refund. If I bought a used pistol and found out after the fact, this is a dark example, but found out after the fact, based on the serial number, that was either a stolen gun or a gun used in a crime, what do you think I'm going to do? Just be like, oh yeah, no, it's cool. Cabela's, you're all good. Don't worry about it. I'm just scared to call it out. No. One, I'm getting my money back. Two, I'm speaking on it because that's absolutely crazy. To me, loops are the scariest part when it comes to this whole world, because I've talked about this a ton of times and I get emails. I just got an email from a producer. He did put the word sample in the file name. He didn't tell me what the sample was, but I don't know the guy. He just sent me a bunch of loops because I get random loops sent to me every single day from people I didn't ask for loops from. And it was a 90s R&B sample that he had just pitched down and filtered. I knew where it was from because I'm old, but he didn't explain where it was from. He just said sampled, here's the loop. And it's like, if we don't know where it's from, why would we use it? We know that it's copyright infringement. At least this producer is saying sampled, which isn't really a clear indication of the source of the sample. It could be sampled from Splice or Somatics or whatever, not sampled from some 90s era R&B super group. A lot of producers won't even do that. You look on YouTube. There are tons of kits that these producers put out that are just chopped 70s soul samples, and they say, yeah, use these. Go ahead, use it. They'll even put a little blurb in there talking about, yeah, use these for placements. Give me 20%. Sell these on BeatStars. No royalties required. What? So this is why I say it's more important than ever. Maybe you're afraid to call out the bad behavior, but it's more important than ever to at least support the creators who are doing right by you. That's why I was disappointed when Oz asked his followers, because he just wanted to support, who he should buy drum kits from. And Mike Dean, who had a really amazing opportunity to either say absolutely nothing or say something positive, instead of doing that, he just said, go on Reddit, get your kits, they're free. By and large, the response to Mike Dean getting criticism for that was other producers saying, well, you know, most of those drum kits are stolen anyway. So it's just this lazy notion that just because some drum kits are stolen, I shouldn't support the people who are actually doing the right thing. And I think it's just people justifying what they know deep down inside is wrong. But there are a lot of producers out there who will not use loops, because using loops, using anything sampled, using anything that isn't 100% created by you, the person making the beat, is actually disrespectful to the culture. Oh yes. I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute. Hip hop came from sampling. Hip hop came from breaks. DJs weren't making music, they were playing music and changing it and manipulating it in real time. Listen, don't let historical facts fool you. I just got a DM from a guy from Switzerland who knows exactly what the truth about using loops and samples really is. And he's upset because, you know what, guys? I just have to admit something to you. All of us who have been making drum kits and sample kits and original sounds and selling them or giving them away for free, we're actually harming the producer community. Why? I don't know, but we're about to find out. This man says, can't we just make beats like in the old days without any prepared products or goddamn sample packs? Yeah, why can't we just make beats like we did in the old days, like DJ Marley Marl or the Dust Brothers or Rick Rubin, or, you know, any of those guys who didn't have 808 drum machines, didn't have MPDs, didn't have samplers, didn't have anything prepared, no synthesizers, nothing. You're forcing young producers not to play music themselves. That's true. Every time I release a sample pack, a young child gets a musical instrument ripped from their tiny hands. Was that the idea behind all this shit? It absolutely was. We hate the children. Why are you doing that? I know you are money-hungry monsters, but what else is there for a reason? Please explain that to me. Prayers, pussy. I can't do this. I had to share this because it was funny. There are a lot of producers who actually were on board with this DM. They must live in states where weed is legal. They have some amazing dispensaries. But here's someone else who echoes the sentiment. Drewski Sosa says, personally to this has to do with AI. Personally to me, AI makes some pretty good sound. I ain't even tripping over AI. In my opinion, beat making was already ruined before it got started. So beat making was ruined before beat making existed. That's deep. Most of everyone is always trying to, most of everyone is always, that's a, whew. Most of everyone is always trying to sound like the latest industry produced garbage songs on the radio. And this has been happening since, I guess, what, the 1800s, before beatmaking even started. Nobody puts no creativity into their craft. And the ones that do, wait a minute, nobody puts no creativity into their tracks, but the ones that do don't exist. This is getting crazy. This is deep. The ones that do are underrated or left to stay at the bottom because of the gatekeeper guys that want to rob beatmakers for their money to teach them to sell beats, keep all the mastering techniques behind their precious paywalls. Yeah, if I search YouTube right now, matter of fact, let's do it, because no one is sharing their mastering techniques. This guy is onto something. How to master a beat. No way, there's nothing that's going to come up. Nah, this is the Matrix. I got to escape the Matrix, guys. I need to, where's Hustlers University? I need to enroll ASAP, because this can't be right. Wait, what is this? Let's keep going, because I'm sure there's a lot more knowledge buried deep in this comment. This beat making game was always shit. I make beats because I want to. What the fuck did I just read? So when I initially shared that DM I got from the guy who was upset about me releasing drum kits and therefore running into elementary school music classrooms and smashing instruments left and right with my bare hands, I got this reply. That's really what it kind of is. What's up with these weird sentences? When I used to produce music, I would make every part of it from scratch. That's the true meaning of a beat maker. Yep, I love when people just make history up. Hip hop was based on not sampling 100%. I know what I'm talking about. Trust me, I have a Twitter account. Pre-made melodies and pre-made drums is like a shortcut. That's the truth and you know it. Then I can't argue with that, because if it's the truth and I know it, then there's nothing left for me to say. I got this comment too, and I thought this tied everything together beautifully. Prod by RT says, I know this is off topic, but why so many, damn it. I like the comment. This is just an awkwardly written sentence. Why do so many people expect beat makers to be musicians? It's crazy to me because the majority of the biggest producers in the world are not musicians. Back in the days before technology, producers would hire musicians to come in the studio and play the instruments, and they would, well, not necessarily, and hip-hop was basically built off samples in the 90s. That's not true, because that last tweet said it wasn't. Nowadays, people act like you're cheating for using samples and loops when this has been going on forever. I'm trying not to curse. Producers, beat makers, and musicians are different titles. Let's talk about that. In my opinion, the producer is the person who gets the record placed. I was with you until you said that. So if the beat maker gets the record placed, then that person is the producer. Here's the thing. I'm one of those people who is not married to this static concept of the word producer. I don't care. Producer, beat maker, you can call me whatever you want. It's just that word gets weaponized a lot in the community. You know, people will say, you're not a real producer, you just make beats. Bitch, I produce records. Just because I sell beats all the time doesn't mean I'm not producing records. But people love to be purists when it comes to this term producer. You know, they'll always say Quincy Jones wasn't making beats. Okay, so you can't make beats and be a producer at the same time? Of course you can. A producer produced. They did what they had to do to get the job done. Sometimes they did play instruments. Sometimes they were arrangers. Sometimes they were conductors. Sometimes they were just there in the room telling people what the hell to do. The definition of the word produce is to make, to create something. So if you're sitting alone in a room and you make a beat, you just produce that beat. Does that make you a producer? I would say yes. You can disagree with me. Let's go and see what the Berklee School of Music has to say about it. Online.berkeley.edu. What does a music producer do? A music producer holds many roles, but here are the four most vital. This is going to be interesting. 1, schedule and budget. First, the producer's responsibility is to schedule a recording session within the appointed budget. See, I would love if the labels gave me that level of responsibility. That would be great. I feel like this is a pretty antiquated definition. 2, shaping the music. The second responsibility revolves around the question of how a producer takes the raw material of an artist's song and transforms it into a finished recording. Yeah, the function is both artistic and commercial. It must express the artist's musical and emotional talent. 3, supervising performance. The producer must know how to identify and obtain the best performances from the individual members of the group. This is something that I think producers should be more comfortable doing. If you're producing a record, just if you made the beat and nothing else, but you're in the studio session, there's an engineer, not being afraid to say, hey, I have an idea, try to deliver this line like this, or at very least say, hey, that note was flat or that line was off beat. Record that again. Taking on more of a director's role, learning how to delegate. I think that's an incredibly important core foundational skill for a producer to develop. But I did actually just like 10 minutes ago well, 3 hours ago, have this interaction with a producer who said, that's not a producer. LOL, you're thinking of an engineer. A producer can take an artist or band and make them the best they can be. Sure. But what he's saying is that in response to a meme that's not really meant to be taken seriously, that a producer should not be mixing. That's it. They should not be mixing because that is an engineer's role. Whatever, I'm done with this. Back to what Prod by RT said, though. There is this interesting expectation of beat makers to be musicians. You see it all the time. And I feel like the people who weaponize the term producer in these ridiculous asinine producer versus beat maker debates often try to have it both ways because I don't think they have a strong foundation for their argument. I think it's just ego. So they'll say stuff like, you're not a real producer if you don't play an instrument. And then they'll say Quincy Jones never made a beat, but if you're making a beat, you're playing instruments. It's a convoluted conversation, but ultimately my takeaway from all this is that the comment section is just a chaotic place. However, dialogue, communication, sharing information, sharing resources is important in the producer community, especially when we want to support some type of practice. So if the practice that we want to support is originality when it comes to creating drum kits, then we should support those who are doing that instead of focusing our energy in complaining about the people who aren't doing that. I know some people are just afraid to speak on what they perceive as bad practices or even outright injustices within the music business space. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just going to say that if that is what you do, if you do speak out against things that you see in the music business that aren't right, and if you stand on your principles, I respect that. I'm proud of you for doing that. I mean, a lot of us get criticism for speaking out on these topics, but at the same time, I could post BeatStars earlier today posted a whole series of slides about the rodeo record that I produced for La Pat that was _1, or it might still be _1 on the TikTok charts. People were mad about that. I don't know why that upset them. So people are going to be mad no matter what you say. So you may as well say what's coming from your heart, right? That's my opinion. That's my take on it. So much success to you. Peace.